Welcome to No Excuses. My name is Mary Fran, and this is my place to come and talk about weight loss, life, fitness, making me the best me possible. So if you are new here, I want to thank you for coming. If you're returning, thank you also. If you haven't already done so, like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell. Your interaction really does spark me to keep bettering myself and making myself more awesome. So thank you. Today we are going to be talking about food addiction. And for me, this actually came about as a slow process because seriously, I'm not an addict. I don't have any addictions. I don't have anything like that going on. And it was a couple different things that happened in life that actually made me sit back and go, whoa, I think I have a food addiction. One of the first things that happened was at a Weight Watchers meeting. The leader was awesome. But she was talking about how she had gained weight when she had surgery and she was laid up and couldn't move. And how when she actually started to lose the weight, everything went fine. And she would go into the grocery store and she would stand at the donut bin. She would even open it up and she would like breathe in the smell of donuts. And she would be like, close it. I don't need them anymore. And I sat there that day going, really? Am I odd? Am I weird? Because, that kind of control was very difficult for me. And it just didn't click in my head what was happening. I just knew that I was different because that was temptation that was really difficult for me. And I knew that something was hardwired wrong. The next situation came actually at a different Weight Watchers meeting with a different leader. She was actually talking about giving in to your urges and tempting yourself and giving yourself something that would actually help take away the temptation. And so she opened up a bag of dark chocolate. Now, I do love dark chocolate. But she handed the bag around and she walked around and she held the bag out and she said, here, take a piece. And I'm like, I don't want a piece. No, thank you. I already have my calories and my points counted for the day. I don't want another piece. And she just insisted. She's like, you've got to have this piece. So I took the piece and then she waited until we all ate a piece of chocolate. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you just made me eat a piece of chocolate that I didn't have accounted for. It's already the end of the day. I'm already messed up. And besides, now I want chocolate because I started the chocolate. And then this leader decided to sit back and she started saying, now that you've had this little piece of chocolate, everybody's fine. You don't want any more. It has taken that craving right away. Well, first of all, I didn't have a craving to begin with. So that was my first issue. But secondly, now that I tried it, I just want more. I am wanting more. It just opened the floodgates. And I left that meeting and I'm just like, really? What is wrong with me that this worked for her and this worked for this other one? And I'm just kind of lost. But I didn't really think too much about it until we went to this restaurant. It was called Haas's and I got the salad bar. And they do have a little dessert bar on it. And I counted every point that I ate. I was so on track. I was so good. And when I was done, I was like, I'm going to go up and get a little dessert because the dessert bar also has fruit on it. And I was like, this is awesome. So I was like, I'm going to have dessert. So I went up to the dessert bar and I got my fruit and I put it on there. And then I saw they had what they call little Haas cake because it's Haas's. And it is little teeny tiny squares. And it's out of like a 9x13 pan. And literally they are cut in 1-inch squares. And I sat there and I'm like, you know what? I have a couple points left over. I'm going to go ahead and have a small piece of cake. Yay, I can work this into my budget and food-wise, and I am awesome. So I take it back to my table and I slide into my seat. And I took a little teeny tiny bite of that 1-inch piece of cake, and that 1-inch piece of cake was so delicious. Oh my word, it was so awesome. I savored the bite. Seriously, the angels were singing. I was like, oh, I was in bliss. And when it was done, I ate my fruit and I sat there and I'm like, Oh, but I want that taste again. That taste was so awesome. The angels were singing when I ate it. It was that awesome. So I slid out of the booth. I went back to the bar and I got myself another piece of cake. Came back, slid in the booth. I went to take my bite and it was good. Don't get me wrong, but the angels didn't sing. I wanted those angels to sing. I went back and got another piece and ate another piece. I don't know how many pieces I ate that day. It was probably 4 or 5 because I wanted that beautiful sound of, oh, when I ate something delicious. And I went home and I calculated it all and I counted it all and everything wasn't good, but I actually, didn't let it derail me. But I started to think about it. And that is when all of these situations went through my head and I realized that, Mary Fran, you have an addiction to food. You taste something incredible and you just want to keep eating it because you want that incredible feeling to continue. You want the angels to keep singing. You want to remain in this state of bliss. I have a food addiction. It made all sense. I was a food addict. Whoa. So, everybody is different. So these things might be different and your addiction might come and go in a different way. But I have put together 3 techniques that I use to try to help combat this thought of addiction that is in my head. So number 1, remove yourself from temptations. If you know the cake is going to be a temptation and the angels will probably sing with that, just don't eat it. Remove all temptation. Take it out of the house. If Reese's Cups are your temptation, get rid of them. If this is your temptation, get rid of it. Try to remove as much temptation as possible. I can still get into trouble with the food at the house, but if I can take away some of that other stuff, it helps eliminate my risk. Remove temptation. Number 2, this is going to be the hardest one because it really is an internal thing, it is straight up willpower. You need to sit back and say, okay, I know the angels sang because I have an addiction. And I know that the more I eat, the angels aren't coming back because this is an addiction. This is not something that's actually real. It is an addiction. It is something in my head. Willpower. You just have to sit back and say, I'm going to do this. Plain and simple. Done. Willpower. And number 3, you honestly just need to revel in the success. When you have a success and you can sit back and say, hey, I beat this addiction today. Build on it. Take pride in it. Allow yourself to be prideful because that pride is going to build success on that. And then you can be prideful of that. And then it's going to build success. And your success is going to keep building. Be prideful. Grab onto that success and hold on to it and build on it. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to manage an addiction. Willpower, remove temptation, and celebrate that success. It's kind of a crazy little addiction talk, but I really wanted to talk about it because a lot of people don't really talk about the fact that there is a food addiction. It is very real. It is very prevalent. For the longest time, I didn't want to admit it because I didn't want to admit that I had an addiction, but I do. So I've admitted it. I wish there was an easy answer. There's not, but it is what it is. So thank you so very much for talking with me about addiction. If you have any ideas or hints, comment below. And in the meantime, there are no excuses. You need to still continue to fight and push forward. No matter what the reason, keep fighting. No excuses.